Taking care of business featuring senior solutions, and that means Heiar Insurance in today. Matt Heiar on the show with us. Matt, how you doing today?
Good. It's Friday. It's beautiful, and it looks like it's going to be beautiful this weekend.
It does look like it's going to be beautiful this weekend. I think the rain that we had to deal with and all the other bad weather seems to kind of be in our rearview mirror. I think we're at a much better air clarity time frame right now with the fires that were going on in Canada. I don't smell it as much when I'm outside, so I think that's going to be better. The only downside is I have a lawn that needs mowed, so I'll have to do that sometime today or tomorrow. But other than that, I've got a weekend free to just enjoy the beautiful weather.
I know. I'm dreading to mow my lawn because right now we have the cottonwoods.
Oh.
So like it looks like I have snow on my backyard, and every year when I have to do that typical mow of that week or two, it is so terrible. I have to like wear a mask basically.
Oh man, we don't have much cottonwood issue that we have to deal with in our area, but I've got one tree that has those what do they call the kids call them, the helicopters?
The whirly birds.
Yeah, they'll cover the car, they cover everything. And my kids love it because they'll go outside and grab handfuls of them, just throw them in the air. They think it's great. And I'm like, God, I have that kind of whimsy again.
Yeah, I know. I just felt like, I don't know, for some reason this year, the allergies have just, I don't know if it's the wind, if it's just the pollen, because I noticed like everything's coated in yellow. So I think that's the pine pollen. And yeah, but we can't complain.
No.
It could be snow.
It could be snow.
So we'll take it. But yeah, no, everything's been going good over at the Heiar Insurance office. We've been busy. People are still retiring. People are still turning 65, and people are still also turning 62, signing up for Social Security and Medicare. So it's been just a busy week, pretty typical week, but yeah, pretty smooth.
Now, when we think about busy times, I usually think about that Medicare sign-up time as being the busy time.
Oh, you had to bring that up.
And I know, it's still traumatic for you.
That's a ways away.
But, even though that's the busy time for you guys, it's not like there's a dead time for retirement, because every day somebody's got a birthday, every day somebody's aging up, every day somebody might be getting to that point where they now qualify to sign up for stuff. And of course, every day people might have questions in their preparation and planning.
Yeah, and I mean, the easiest way is to give us a call at 920-887-0580. But I mean, there are yes, people retire every day, but the planning process starts now. Whether even if it is a year, 2 years, 3 years. But there is typical times people retire. Like a lot of people do it calendar year.
Right.
And I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. That's how our insurance usually is.
Right.
Some people wait until a little bit into January because they might get like a bonus or extra paid vacation. But it seems that is the time. And that's why if you could help us out, help me help you, we wanna have a game plan going into the end of the year, because that's when people are signing up for Medicare. People are turning on their Social Security. People are rolling their 401ks. So like every company and every government platform is busy.
Right.
So things are delayed. And that's what we want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row. So the planning process starts way before that. But yes, it is very exciting when people are like, I got a date.
Right.
And that's when we really can, hit the ground running. But yes, it's the planning process up to retirement is, that is the biggest step, the date. And then it's like, okay, what are we going to do? And then we just take it one step at a time. We can't just solve everything in one meeting. I wish. But it takes a little bit of a process, but that's where we just take it one step at a time. We'll educate you. Do you understand how this is going? Do you understand why we're doing this? For any reasonings. And then if you have questions, and that's where, having a local advocate, that is what brings value to that, because you're going to deal with us. You're going to talk to us. You're going to have questions with us. We're going to be answering those questions. And you're not calling a 1-800 number trying to talk to a human.
Right.
Because I've been so frustrated lately with a lot of these insurance companies. They're like the automated, it's normally it used to be like press 1 for this, press 2 for this. But now it's like, well, how can I help you? I might be able to help you. What is this call for? And you're trying to talk to them and they're not understanding.
Right.
Eventually you get to someone, but I haven't got a lot of value from those. And it's actually just more frustrating than, like, hey, I would rather just press 1.
Right.
Customer service.
Yeah.
I used to get away with it a lot of times by just clicking 0.
That doesn't work now.
No. So it's it is getting tough, and that's why we don't want you to have to call a 1-800 number. We want you to call a local number and talk to the same person with your retirement and someone that's going to be through the journey with you with retirement and Medicare and Social Security.
There you go. That local number again, 920-887-0580 if you want to reach out to any of the team over there at Heiar Insurance. If you do want to talk to a live person, a real human, and ask questions right now, you can do so. You can actually call us right here on air during Taking Care of Business and speak to Matt Heiar. Ask him a quick question if you'd like. 920-885-4446 is our phone line, or you can call or text our 920-887-9595 number. If you're watching on the video stream today on Daily Dodge TV on YouTube or on dailydodge.com, you'll see those numbers up in the corner. Please, by all means, utilize them. Give us a call. And if Matt can't answer your question, believe me, he'll call you back. He'll find out and he'll let you know, because that's just the kind of guy he is.
Yes. Well, try to be.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's you and your team. You guys are your advisors. You're advocates for people. You're helping them out. There's a lot of fear when you hear, any, surname insurance, Bob's Insurance, Smith's Insurance, whatever, that, it's a sales team. They're just going to find me and they're going to say, here's our partners that we work through, and so this is what we sell. This is what you have to have. It's the best of the best of the best. There you go. One-stop shop, and you get the one thing that they offer.
Yeah.
That's not you guys.
Well, I hate sales. Like, I'm not like the deal ends tomorrow. Like,
Right.
where people are like, hey, I need you to sign this because, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, it's like, we want you to take your time, and understand the process. Because there's so many people like that don't even want to do it. They're like, hey, what do you think? And it's like, no, we want you to understand what's going on here. And that's where, yes, you want an independent agent. You want someone that has multiple carriers. But yes, of course we have favorites, but we tell you why.
Right.
We put up the two together and we're like, okay, look at the difference between this and this. And a lot of times it's the proof is in the pudding, the numbers. Like, hey, look, this plan has the least out of pocket where you can still go in and out of network, and it's the lowest cost. So it's the biggest bang for our buck and the
Right.
best insurance. I mean, so it's not really like, I like this company better than this one. It's like, this year, this company has the least out of pocket. This would be in your best interest.
Right.
So, and that's not sales in my mind, because it's like, this just makes sense.
Right.
You need this because you're losing insurance. This would be your best bet. And that's why we are asking a lot of the non-financial, non-health questions, like, because some people will come in and be like, I don't believe in Western medicine. I don't want to go to the doctor. I got a perfect plan for you. Like the least
Right.
cost plan where you're not going to use it, but you're not filing bankruptcy if something major happens.
Right.
So it's like, that's why it's so fun and rewarding with my job, because everyone's different. Every situation's different. Everyone's affordability levels, comfort with different plans, and their health are different. And even husband and wife, that's the one thing we're so used to having group insurance, the same plans. You do not have to pick the same plans, especially when we get to Medicare. You are separate entities. So that's where, my job is never boring. I get to meet a lot of personalities, and you just find things out like, oh, you're this person's sister? I did not know that. And then it
Right.
starts like connecting. You're like, I can't even believe I didn't see this.
Little town Wisconsin.
Yes. So, yeah, it's rewarding. And, I was born and raised here, and I really love this community and, like, all the different things that are being done. My kids go to the school district here. It's just full circle, like how my friends that I graduated with are teaching my kids. It's really cool and rewarding, and to see everyone in the community and just help them out. So, yes, like sales, I understand it is, in the end of the day, it's sales. Listen
Right.
to all the commercials on TV, but we want you to understand what you're getting and why you're getting it, and also all the products that are available to you, not just one company.
And that's really, really important. I mean, people across the board, if I'm going out and I'm buying a new TV or a new computer or a new car or whatever, I'm not just walking into the place and going, I want a car. And they go, okay, that one's blue. There you go. It doesn't work for me. I need a TV. Cool. That one's big. You're set.
Yeah, like, or if you'd go on the website, like one brand of TV's website, which brand are you going to be looking at?
Right. I mean, it's so difficult. And so having somebody who's there who is in it, you're in the trenches day in, day out, you know what's going on, continued education, continued understanding and training as to what's happening. You help navigate those clear as mud things that are out there. So if I walk in and I say, okay, Matt Heiar, I need a TV, you can say, well, what size do you need? What are you looking at? What space are you trying to fill? You're going to ask those follow-up questions so that you can narrow that down and say, here are your best options of TV.
Yep.
Same thing with what you're doing. Hey, I need a Medicare. I need to sign up for Medicare and I need a Part B, or I need a drug, something, whatever the drug supplement is. And you're going to say, okay, yeah, not a problem. What do you take? What doctors do you go to? What regular medications, maintenance medications are you on? Instead of saying, yeah, here's this one. It's this much a month.
Yeah, no, that would be boring.
It would be.
That would be, and that's where, it's very situational, especially with this, the government stuff. I'm not going to rag on the government like I do all the time, but it's, like they don't teach us this stuff. So every person comes in, right? I do not know what's going on. I'm losing sleep, what is happening? I mean, because these are a lot of life events, that we've been given, we're earning obviously, but we're
Right.
given these, benefits, and now they're going away. And the checks are going to stop coming in, and it's a therapy session.
Right.
So that's why, like, initially when we meet, we're just talking. What are your concerns? What are you most worried about?
Right.
And that's, if we have transparency and you're telling me like, yes, I'm really on these medications and they're really expensive and I just don't know how it's going to be with this new insurance, or I have prior health issues and I'm just worried that, it's going to be covered, or I can see this specialist. I mean, that we need to hear that kind of stuff, because that's where it's like, all right, well, let's make sure that your doctor takes this insurance. It's not like good luck, and we do not want to do that. We want to verify and make the best educated decision at the time. So yes, it doesn't happen in one appointment. I know insurance appointments are probably very riveting to a lot of people.
Oh, right.
But it's we just want to make sure we do the correct decision and we do it the right way one time. And anything can be changed, obviously, especially when it comes to income planning and changing plans. Like, yeah, we can, but we got to know, like, hey, if we do try to switch from this plan, there could be health underwriting. And so it's just little things like that, or like, hey, you're going to get a part-time job. You're on Social Security. You can only make $23,400. So like it's very situational and everyone's different, and that's why it's very unique. And just because the girls write down appointments and they're like, this person's name, sign up for Social Security, and then we don't even end up signing for Social Security because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So that's why, like, yes, we help people with creating accounts online for SSA.gov, which now they refer you to login.gov, but then we can see that that's how we sign you up for Medicare. And people are so confused, and people do confuse Social Security and Medicare a lot, but we do sign you up for Medicare on Social Security's website. I know, but it's federal government.
Right.
But yeah, and then, then we hear all our neighbors and friends saying like, well, you're going to get penalized. You can get penalized in Medicare for two reasons: not having credible prescription drug coverage, big deal, and then also not signing up for Medicare at the right time. And it's like, well, when do I do it? So every person comes in, I'm turning 65, all my 1960 babies, they're out there, and they're like, hey, I was told I got to sign up. And I'm like, okay, and then the questions, right? Are you working? Yeah. What's your health insurance now? Oh, where are you working? Oh, they have more than 20 employees. You don't need to sign up for Medicare. And it's like, no. And that's why it's great that we order these books from Social Security, which we do have booklets. You can stop by the office. We're at the Heritage Mall between Joann's and the old Sears, right in the middle of them. But yes, you can stop. We have Medicare ones, widowed spouse benefits, understanding your retirement benefits. There's a Medicare one also. They're just little booklets, like with maybe 15 pages in them, but they give you some information, like the stuff I'm saying, because it's hard. They're like, no, I was told that I have to sign up, or I cannot take Social Security at 60. And it's like, yes, you can, because that's a widower's benefit.
Right.
And there's just these little rules and penalties that people just misconstrued, and it's like the game of telephone. By the time it gets to you, it's like, No, that's not even close.
Right.
So, and that's a lot of the situations. They're like, well, I was told this. I'm like, and it's kind of right. It's like, well, kind of.
You're correct adjacent, but
Yes. And it's like, but not in your situation. And that's why, we got to do something. Like, I love those appointments where people come in, we don't end up doing anything, but they feel better. They know, they understand why they're not signing up or why they had to sign up. And then we just debate it if it makes sense. I've noticed a transition this last couple years that Medicare, some people are going to Medicare and not staying on group insurance. And that was never a thing back in the day.
right.
But these employer plans, to make them affordable for the employer and employee, they have to go higher and higher with these deductibles.
Right.
So these deductibles are so outrageous. And if someone is doctoring a lot, it might make sense to go to Medicare. And we'll debate that.
Right.
And it doesn't mean we have to, but those are different situations where, and even if you are on Medicare, if you have a plan and you like it, but it's getting expensive, or you have to get prior authorizations, or if you're just not getting, it's not filling all the voids of what you need for your health care, stop in, bring in your documents and stuff. We'll look it over and probably do nothing. But at the same time, you might have questions on it, and
Right.
just absolutely just give us a call at 920-887-0580.
There you go. I do have a few follow-up questions what we talked about here so far. Let's start with that 23,500 number. That number hasn't always been 23,500. Obviously, it's fluctuated. How often do we see that number change?
Annually, actually. So Social Security will come out in like December with the income limits. I want to say last year it went up about $1,000. It was like 22,000 something, and now it's like 23,400. So yeah, maybe next year's 24,500.
Right.
But still, that's not a full time. We cannot work full
Right.
time then, because every $2 you earn over the limit, they take $1 back of your Social Security, and they say they put it back in your account, but you'll never essentially get that money.
Right.
So that's why, yeah. So if you're $1,000 over, they're going to recalculate your Social Security next year, and you're going to receive $500 less. So not per month, but like $40, $41 a month, basically less.
Right.
And we don't want that. So
Yeah.
that's why it has to make sense.
I'm going to tie into that then a little bit. So let's say you're somebody who, because we know that when it counts it as punching a clock, right?
Yep.
It's
Earned income,
Earned
working
income.
wages. Yep.
Right. So for somebody who maybe has an annuity that's coming in, doesn't count towards it. If you got pension or 401k coming in, that doesn't count towards it.
Correct.
It's only that earned income, that punching a clock income.
Yep. And it gets a little tricky because like married filing jointly,
Right.
like they're like, well, my spouse is working, and they're making this. It's like, well, that's different for like the tax standpoint, but like for collecting Social Security, you can because you are not working. So that's another common question we get.
It's interesting the things that do come across when you're married and the things that don't. So that's one of those things that keeps separate. That's good to know. We talked about helping people with that peace of mind. When I think about the different anxieties and stresses people can have from being a young adult to a standard adult to being more of those elder adults, I hear a vast array. I've used excuses. Well, I'm still young. I don't need to worry about health insurance. I don't need to worry about life insurance. I don't need to worry about retirement because I've got so many years ahead of me. Now I'm a full adult, and I use excuses like, well, there's still plenty of time, and, I'll be working till I'm 70 anyways, and, I've started. It may not be as big and as fast and growing as I want it to be, but at least I got something in place, and I have too many other responsibilities to think about putting money aside for whatever the case, or I can't really afford to put money aside for these things. And then eventually you reach that elder adult state where it's, well, now I got to rush. I didn't do anything. I didn't do enough of things. I have no idea if I'm anywhere near ready. I've got this thought that I want to retire at this point, but at this point, I don't know if I can retire in 20 years, let alone 5 years. Seeing you guys can really kind of help just give you that deep breath and that calming moment, because you guys can say, hey, let's give you a little reality check on the situation. Let's talk about what you want to be able to do. Let's talk about where you're at and how to get you from where you're at now to where you want to be. And sometimes there has to be those hard conversations. You know, if I come into you at 64 and a half and I'm like, hey, I want to retire January 1st and I want to start collecting things and I want to go deep sea fishing every day, and I give you all my breakdown of numbers, and there's no way it's going to happen unless I win a really big lottery jackpot, it's going to be a tough discussion. But sometimes you have to have those.
Yes, and you have to respect transparency. You know, we don't want to just fill you up with pipe dreams saying, like, oh, yeah, well, we might be able to do this. That's tough. But, and like, we don't have to like have a date set. You know, like, there are people that we have that it's like, yeah, you can retire. But they like what they do.
Right.
You know, like, so, and that's what the ultimate goal is, right?
Right. If
you don't feel like you're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, even though sometimes Mondays and Fridays you're like, oh, but no, that's not the issue. It's just, it's very situational. So if you like what you're doing and you don't want to, you know, stop working, that's fine. They're doing it because they want to do it.
Right.
So yeah, they have the peace of mind of knowing they can retire. Then there's people, yes, we set goals. You know, it's like, well, if we do this, you know, then we should be good to go by turning our Social Security on X, you know, and then pension, whatnot, and then it's very situational for different people. But a lot of times, the sooner you come in, the easier it is to plan and set those goals, you know, and set those budgets and choose between needs and wants. But yeah, I mean, typically a person is pretty conservative in retirement. Like we're not going to change our lifestyle. Maybe a couple more vacations and stuff, but that's less money than you're spending probably doing X, Y, and Z anyway. So yeah, it's very situational, but that's why I get to live, you know, curiously through everyone, and it's very exciting.
I do want to remind everybody as we're hitting the bottom of the hour, this is a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Right now, a lot of people are finding that they like to have up-to-date, up-to-the-minute checks of what they've got going on, be it their bank account. I know plenty of people who they didn't get paid today, they didn't buy anything today, but they probably checked their bank account balance 8 times today. People who do the same thing with their retirement balance.
Absolutely.
They're checking all the time, especially, you know, with their 401ks, with the markets being up and down, a lot of volatility lately. And so they want to have that openness to be able to see what's going on. We've talked before about how a lot of the different programs that you guys have in place do have ways for people to check their stuff on a regular basis. They have apps that are connected, and you guys help people navigate that even if they're not super tech savvy.
Yeah, and it's really cool because you can do it via web browser, obviously, just username and password, or download the app, which I would recommend. It's just much more convenient, and you can check it every day and stuff like that. And some people will refuse to.
Right.
They're like, nope, I'll wait till my quarterly statements. That's just how I've been, and that's fine too. But it's just really cool with the app because every one of your accounts we can create households. So you get to see your household account because it's not just your retirement account. It's this you and your spouse, right? Typically, you know. So that's where, we want you to know the whole picture and what's going on and where everything's at, and it's centralized in this one app, and it's up to date, current. So it's very cool, and part of the planning process is right at your phone.
That is really awesome. And that's part of, again, what you guys do. You're not out there to just say, hey, come on in, let me sell you a product. You guys are out there to say, let me help you and let me get you where you want to be in your process. If I'm somebody where I want to check things every day, all the time, and I want to be on top of it, and I really want to know everything that's happening, you're going to empower me to do that because it is my money, it's my retirement, it's
Absolutely.
my planning. But if I'm somebody who's like, nope, Matt, I'm going to come see you once a year just to make sure everything's where it needs to be, and I'll just look for my statements in the mail, and I'll say hi to you at the grocery store. You're like, cool, I'll wave at the grocery store.
Yeah, and it's teach your own, and actually it's stages of retirement. Like, you know, we get a lot of the checkers, you know, I want that app, I want to, you know, I wanted to update on every situation that's happening and stuff, and that's fine. That's just early retirement, you know, because this is a transition, you know, and no one likes change, not even me. But then, yes, all of a sudden we become a little bit more relaxed. The game plan is working how we planned it, you know, and that's the beauty of it. It's very therapeutic when people start to like, okay, yep, I get it. And then they're calling with questions, you know, and when they're seeking your advice, it's just, you felt like you've done your job. Like, hey, they're on track. They understand what's going on. I understand what's going on. And, you know, it's just, we feel like it's a relationship. It really is.
how does it feel at the end of the day when you've had somebody come in who, was very anxiety filled and freaking out and just completely discombobulated over everything related to the retirement planning, and you're able to deliver all that great news to them and really put them at ease?
Oh, it's so rewarding, but it's not on. I feel it for them almost. They're the ones who did this.
Right.
They saved and they lived within their means and probably didn't buy name brand clothes for their kids or so. Like they took the sacrifices to do this. So it's rewarding for them more than me. I mean, I'm just I'm Vanna White.
Right.
Like, yep, I'm just showcasing. I'm showing like, look at this. Do you see how this is feasible? So yeah, no, that is rewarding, but just like anything though, situations happen where, okay, all of a sudden you lose your job, right?
Right.
Uh-oh, well, you're not going to retire now.
Right.
But it's like, okay, so what do we do? And a lot of people don't, have this. So they come in distraught where it's like, step one, what do we do? And we just take it step by step. It's like, okay, well, we have to get insurance, right? Let's look at it. And they're like, well, I got an interview and I might, go with this place. And it's like, well, we still have to bridge that gap. And then there's federal law, COBRA, where if you lose your job today and you lose your coverage today, which you shouldn't, it should run to the end of the month typically. But there's a federal law, COBRA, that you or your spouse are entitled to up to 18 months of continuation of insurance. The only kicker is you got to pay the full boat.
Right.
And we used to laugh at COBRA numbers, because they're outrageous.
They are.
That's what employers are paying. People don't realize it a lot. It's so that is an option. So you don't just lose coverage,
right?
Because that's everyone's fear. Like, I'm going to fall down the stairs as soon as tomorrow. And it's like, well, yes, that could happen.
Right.
But you are still covered under something. But let's look at other options and debate whether the COBRA or, a marketplace plan, or let's go to Medicare, and that's why you do have time. The only situation is that's why we try to typically get people on Medicare Part A. You're in the Medicare system. It's free if you've worked 40 quarters in your life. So like you're in the system. So then if that happened today, you came in and said, I'm done. I don't have insurance. We start the Part B application right away. We'll get that. You have to bring it to your employer. They sign it. And then we sign the app. We send it to Social Security for you. Social Security works a little quicker once they start taking money from you because Part B costs about $185 this year.
Right.
So that typically can go pretty quick. Like I could easily get someone, if we did the Part B app today, I could get you going July 1st. So then do the government stuff first, right?
Right.
One thing I can't control. And then we'll start looking at plans and we'll debate what makes the most sense. Typically, if it's a Medicare situation, we're not looking at COBRA because Medicare costs $185.
Right.
COBRA's $1,000.
Right.
It's like, I think I can find a plan cheaper than $1,000.
Yeah, probably.
So, but like there are situations where we might end up doing the COBRA till the end of the year if we've met our deductible, because it's literally the continuation of your current plan you're on.
Right.
So if you've met your deductible, met your max out of pocket, then it might make sense to stick with it. So it's just very situational, and that's why you're not alone. This happens a lot to a lot of different people. And yes, I know you might not know this. Of course not. That's why you're seeking help.
Right.
So there's no silly questions or silly phone calls. People like apologize for calling me and saying, I just have this one question. I don't know. Absolutely. Just give us a call at 920-887-0580.
There you go. And really, I mean, there's a lot of things out there to try and help inform people. We talked about SSA.gov and, of course, login.gov to get your login. Mm-hmm. Even there, I know I logged in for the first time. When I looked at it, I looked at the different numbers, and there's certain statements on there that if you can easily skim over. And it's like, well, if you continue to make this much every year until retirement or until retirement age, this is what your benefit will be.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, that's accounting for me never getting a raise in the 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years I have left, whatever.
I've left.
Yeah. Or changing jobs, or maybe something tragic happening, losing a job. A lot of different things that can be in there. So a lot of it's speculative.
Absolutely.
And so we kind of have to somewhat plan for the worst, hope for the best, and it's better to be over prepped and over informed and over ready than under prepped and underperforming.
Absolutely. And that's why, like, honestly, like, I feel like the biggest age to start talking about retirement, like if you haven't already, 59. 59, because we're coming into our 60s, right? And this is when like you start to have access to your 401ks, IRAs, 403bs. You're also getting close to Social Security age. Does it make sense to turn on at 62? I mean, that is a perfect, if you want to say ideal client, like where I meet you then and we build a relationship from there, because it's like, okay, here, we can do this, we can do this. I don't care if you're working 5 more years. This is what we're going to do. Right. And I get to walk them through each step, whether, the months of, yes, you reach 59 and a half, you reach Social Security age, you reach Medicare age, and you'll reach your full retirement of Social Security age. And it makes it easy for us because we're kind of just doing every step of the process and carrying you along the way and just letting you know, hey, this is what we're doing. And then if we have that scare, or we have to retire quickly, or our company closes, it's all right. We got it, because we already talked about this if this happens. So like, yes, an ideal person, like I would say like 59 is when you because people are working longer, but age 59 is when it's like, okay, maybe we should start talking about retirement, and not saying you're retiring.
Right.
But it's just the sooner you come in, what if we don't want to work together? Right? But that's where we can just have a complimentary consultation, just chat, and you can tell me concerns, worries, or maybe you're like, hey, I just came here because you said to come here at 59. And it's
easy enough.
Yes. And then we'll talk about it and stuff and probably do nothing. But at the same time, it's building that relationship and starting it, and that's why if we can do it, hopefully on terms like that, rather than, I'm done. We got 30 days. What are we going to do?
Right.
And it does happen, and we make it work. But yes, if we could do it holistically, naturally, that's what we strive for, and that just gives people the peace of mind, and that's what we look for.
And of course, that's not to say that if you're 28-some-year-old kid out there working a job, getting into the first few years of your career, put money in your 401k. If you have money to do it, Roth IRAs or other forms of buckets, it's never a bad idea to start setting a little something aside. But of course, the potential for volatility in your life's path from 28 to retirement age and 59 to retirement age is vastly different.
Oh, yes. I mean, the accumulation phase is easy, right?
Right.
It's fake money. Just sit there and it just goes up, goes down, and you could care less.
Right.
Right. It's, a lot of people don't know, like, oh, this happened over somewhere else in the world and it's affecting our markets, and we don't know that when we're in our 20s and 30s. It's just like, okay, so, but once we get closer to it, that's why at age 59, it's like, how are you allocated? Are you in conservative? We will be using this soon, and it's not fake money. The distribution phase is the most important part, of how we're going to, unfold this. And that's where with the dissolving of pensions, right, it was just so easy for my dad. They're like, sign here, and he started getting money, which I'm glad. I mean, he earned it obviously and stuff, but it's not that easy anymore, and that's why they're giving a lot of people large chunks of money and saying like, yeah, here you go, don't screw it up,
right?
And that's scary. And then the worst part is you're calling 1-800 numbers and talking to who knows who, what, and where, and it's just a customer service agent, and you're never going to talk to that person again.
Right.
So that's why we advocate for, you will have questions, you will have situations, you will have life events, you will use this insurance. Going somewhere local, it's so powerful because you're just talking to the same person, and you're going to the same place. And it's a comfort, and that's, once again, peace of mind.
I know I just spoke with somebody last couple of months who was telling me that they had to call and go through a long process with the business or their 401k because they initially had received well, here are your options. And it was basically 3 options of what they could get every month. Mm-hmm. And they went, oh, well, why wouldn't I take the biggest money? That's what I want. Because who doesn't want more money?
Of course.
It makes sense to them. And it wasn't until later that they realized, oh, this meant I was going to run out of money a lot sooner too. And I want this to last as long as I possibly can. And so going through the phone calls and the paperwork and the documentation, everything they had to go through to get that fixed was an enormous headache. All because they had no clue. They just saw 3 options and went, yes, give me more money.
But why was those options available? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that's the scary part. And it's you could take this much. It's like, well, like you said, obviously I want a bigger piece of pie.
Right. Who doesn't?
Yes, but what is the tax situation with that? I mean, there's so much more to think about. Or what if we turn on our Social Security? Then we could take the smallest one and not outlive our money.
Right.
But like that's why we use technology. Technology is great. And then we just run reports and say, hey, this looks good. But it's very situational, and that's why our job is ever evolving. Like even AI, they're saying, with all these different formulas and stuff and algorithms that AI are doing, it could change the game and stuff, but you still want to talk to someone. Computers can run the math and the algorithm stuff, but like you still need an advocate.
Right.
So you don't have to call people. Let us call people.
And I appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to do that. Every time you say something to me like, I'll sit on the phone for hours so my client doesn't have to. And I think, wow.
Yeah, well, it's not a fun part of the trade,
Right.
but I mean, yes, like that's why you hire us, no pun intended. But I mean, we're the ones that's supposed to do it. And I have so many clients that are calling insurance companies, calling these companies. You don't have to. You can call us.
Right.
I think we're just used to it, right? You have a problem with your insurance, you're going to flip your card over and call it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe I might be able to answer it, or I have a portal or agent portal where I can go in and adjust something.
Right.
So definitely, give us a call. The one problem is like when I help people sign up for Social Security, they're like, well, how much longer do you think it's going to be? And that's like the one question I answer like a politician.
Right.
Well, and I can't give you a definitive answer. We can go online to your account once you create that and see the product, like the process. It's like in step 2 of 3.
Right.
So, but that's about all we can do with that for your Medicare apps and Social Security apps. So, but still, I mean, that's why I would much rather you just call us, solve something in 30 seconds to a minute, and then it's so much better than like, guess what I just did.
Right.
Yeah, I've had more problems people calling the companies than just calling us, because we've had insurance canceled, we've had terminations, we've had spouses kicked off. Yeah, it's just give us a call.
Yeah, and we've all been there where we've called up to those places. We get them on the phone, and then, of course, they got to give us their disclaimers, or they got to say things with a certain phrasing or jargon that we may not understand. And they're like, is that okay? And you're like, sure.
Yeah.
Because you assume that what they're telling you is fine, but you may not know.
Honestly, the biggest complaint is not understanding the person. Like
Right.
obviously not everyone's from Wisconsin, and we're used to our dialect. But guess what? You're typically not calling this country.
Yeah, those call centers could be anywhere.
Yes, and it's very difficult to understand, and that's the number one complaint I get from people, and that's why you don't have to worry about that. You just let us call wherever,
Right.
and then we'll take care of it. Or typically we might be able to do it digitally, like on a platform, and we don't have to call anyone either. So that's why it's in your best interest just to give us a call first, and then we can assess the situation, and we might not need to call. So, but yes. Or you could call us right away for a complimentary consultation at 920-887-0580.
There you go. And you've said you guys don't mind if, you come in, you have that consultation, whatever, and it's just a good conversation. Nothing comes of it. Because that's kind of how you guys build your business. You want that word of mouth. You want that out there. And then people do come back to you. People obviously come back to you guys because you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly it. Like, we'll do a portfolio review and or insurance review, and we do nothing, and they're like, well, what do I owe you? It's like nothing. That's not what it's about. If they're happy with their how they were treated and their service and stuff like that, then they will tell someone. Now if they're displeased with how they're treated, they're going to tell a lot more people.
Right.
So it's, yes, you can't retire on every person you see, but that's why it is sales, but it's not to try to sell every person you see. It's to advise them. and that's ultimately our goal. And once again, we live in a small town, born and raised.
I'll say from that advisement, we know I've seen it. I've seen people come up and talk to you we were just at the golf outing.
Yep.
We got done doing our show out there, and you stood up, and people come over and talk to you. People came over and talked while we were doing the show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And swung by and said hi. So we know that happens. You guys are out at the grocery store, the ball fields, local dining establishments, whatever. They're going to see you guys out there, and although it's almost like a local celebrity status, in some cases.
Oh, I haven't got the Wade Bates level yet.
Well, that's only because Wade Bates knows everybody. But, people shouldn't be afraid to come over and ask a quick question. Worst thing's going to happen is you're going to say, hey, you know what? Here's the number. Swing by the office. Stop in and talk to me. Let's sit down and let's hash it out and get all the details on it. And it may be a 15-minute office visit. Or you might have the answer right off the top of your head. It might be something as simple as somebody saying to you, hey, Matt, I want to continue to work this year, but I'm retiring. How much money can I make? And you're like, oh, 23.4. There you go.
Yes. Like
easy enough.
so many people come up to me like, I don't want to talk shop. And it's like, no, what do you got? And they're like, oh, they have a question like that. And it's like, yes, that took me 4 seconds of my life.
Right. Exactly. And you now give them one less thing to worry about maybe for the rest of the day, because that might have been something that was weighing on their mind. They saw you, problem solved.
Yep. So yeah, no, absolutely feel free to, if you see me at Brat Fry or it's Jam by the Dam, which is coming up.
Yeah, I was saying it's going up soon. Yeah.
Yep, the 20th.
I like it.
I know. And then it's followed by a long weekend of holiday, because the next weekend is the last weekend in June, plus then we go into the 4th of July. Exciting stuff.
The summer is really heating up. I'm sure we'll see you out at Dodge County Fair.
DCF.
At the end of the summer.
We'll be live.
We will be live. That's right. We'll be out there broadcasting on that Friday, which is always a lot of fun. The fair is a great place to broadcast from. Of course, here locally at the radio station, we got Radiothon coming up. That's a big event.
Yes.
Which I love the fact that you'll be here broadcasting with us, I believe, that Friday as well.
Okay.
So it'll be right after the excitement of the Radiothon, after me doing 27 hours straight with the Radiothon.
Of no sleep.
And then it's going to be you and I sitting down, so that's going to be a fun one as well.
Oh,
we're gonna have a great time for that one.
Need some extra caffeine.
Yeah, maybe a few extra Pepsis here on the table for that one. But and that just shows like you guys are here. You're part of the community. You guys are out and about, taking part in a lot of these things. We see Ram Sandy, the team over there at Heiar, and you guys work with some really good people. We talk about you guys work with Rob Mielek. Rob's a great guy. We have him on once a month, and talk with him about estate planning. And that was one of those areas where you guys went, hey, this all kind of goes hand in hand. You brought in Rob, and now he's part of the team over there that you can talk to kind of affiliate yourself with and learn more, so that you can help people with all the steps of retirement.
Yeah, we want to fully take care of you in retirement. Right. Let us worry. You just be retired.
Wouldn't that be just the way to go?
Yeah, I know. I do get jealous a lot of times. Before we go,
yeah, what do you got?
Quick shout out.
Yeah, who do you got?
Rita Custer, my grandma. She's 97 today.
Really?
Yes.
Was that on the morning birthdays? Did you
I don't know. I don't know if I heard it or not, if my mom called it in.
Well, I know Jeff Hall is producing the show for us today. So, Jeff, if you want to write that down, Rita
Custer, 97 today.
That'll definitely make it on the Barn Show, I'm sure. That's a big one.
That is a huge one.
No, assuming she's retired.
Yeah. Yes, just recently. No.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, imagine people are living to 97. Retirement, planning now for retirement is so much more important, I think, than ever before.
Definitely more than 30 years we're doing.
Yeah. So, you may think that, your grandparents maybe didn't make it that far. Your parents may not make it that far. That doesn't necessarily dictate how far you're going to live in retirement. And so retirement planning, a huge, huge thing. And, of course, we know where you got to go for that. You got to come see Matt Heiar and the team over there at Heiar Insurance. That's for sure. 920-887-0580, the number over there. You can find them at the Heritage Shopping Mall. Just look for the old Joann's in the right there. You can't miss it.
That's it.
That's exactly it. And, of course, last thing we have to say is...
when you want to retire,
call Heiar. This has been a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.